It's that time of the year, boys and girls. It's convention season once again, and this year's regional convention is possibly the worst one yet. I know, I say that for every convention, but they just keep getting worse, man.
We extend a warm welcome to this pure worship convention.
The theme for this convention is pure worship.
Pure worship, pure worship, pure worship.
And the governing body is going to warn us against the dangers of influencers, minivans, and listening to outside opinions. Yeah, it's about to get culty. You know, as always, we're doing the cringe challenge, so if you cringe, you lose, and when you cringe, let me know the exact moment you lost it. Are you ready? Let's watch.
The governing body is pleased to present the following video for your enjoyment.
The Watchtower is obsessed with the concept of pure worship. In fact, not too long ago, Jehovah's Witnesses studied this book, Pure Worship of Jehovah, Restored at Last. Did you study this book? I remember I did, and I used to think it was super awesome and very profound. Much like Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses are a restorationist Christian religion, meaning they believe they are the restoration of the one true form of Christianity. JWs believe that after the death of the original apostles, the Christian movement descended into apostasy and remained so for thousands of years. It was only in the 1800s that Jehovah God used a man named Charles Taze Russell to start the Bible student movement. True Christians who rediscovered Bible truths that had long been forgotten. This movement spread across the world and would later be rebranded as Jehovah's Witnesses. Pure worship, then, is a return to the original form of Christianity, as practiced by the original apostles before the fall into apostasy. To the Watchtower, giving pure worship to Jehovah involves avoiding holidays, remaining politically neutral, and shunning apostates, those who have left the religion. Basically, being as distant as possible from this fallen world. And you'll see these themes play out throughout the convention to ridiculous extremes. So the first talk of the program is actually titled, "What is Pure Worship?" And the speaker starts off by thanking his audience for putting in the effort of getting to the convention. And yeah, for some families, getting to these convention sites can be a real hassle. You have to ask for the weekend off at work, you have to get all your kids dressed up, and if the convention takes place in another city, you have to either drive for hours or splurge in a hotel room. All of this to sit down in some uncomfortable bleachers to listen to 8-hour-long indoctrination sessions. Super exciting stuff. And to think that conventions used to last like 8 days back in our grandparents' age. How did they even survive that? 8 days of convention? Jesus. Maybe it was the cheese danishes that kept them going.
Now, many of us here too, we've been attending conventions like this for years, perhaps decades.
Yeah, try multiple decades, my dude. Multiple decades of conventions promising that the end is near. Yeah, glad to see the tradition hasn't been lost. So the speaker starts off his talk by defining basic terms like worship, as if we're hearing this word for the first time.
So what is worship?
He then gives a 6-point list of who is practicing pure worship today.
What identifies those who practice pure worship today?
Point number 1. True worshipers worship only Jehovah.
They worship only Jehovah.
Now, since Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in the Trinity, and they hold Jesus to be separate and inferior to God, this means that anyone who worships Jesus is not a true worshiper. So, if you're a mainstream Christian watching this, you better change your ways because you're not going to make it into paradise unless you repent.
Test number 2, John 16:27. Pure worship involves love and affection for God's Son.
See, you can have love and affection for God's Son, aka Jesus, but you can't worship Him. How can you show love for Jesus if you're not even allowed to communicate with Him? I don't know, by thinking about him, I guess. But just don't think about him too much, because if you mention Jesus a few too many times, JWs will start looking at you with a bit of suspicion.
I don't know, man. You've been seeming sus lately. It's almost like we have an imposter among us.
And then test number 3, John 17 and verse 17. There it says, sanctify them by means of the truth. Your word is truth. The test? Well, when Jesus' followers obey the truth, they adhere to God's word.
Okay, so reading and obeying the Bible. Something that literally all Christians claim to do. Of course, JWs would argue that the other so-called Christians don't have a correct understanding of the Bible and therefore don't follow it correctly.
Now test number 4. Pure worship would involve the preaching of the good news of God's kingdom. And as Jehovah's people, we stay busy with that. That identifies us. That's our hallmark, isn't it?
Now, by preaching the good news, JWs don't just refer to sharing the gospel in your everyday life or by doing charity work. No, you gotta put on some dress pants or skirt and go knock on some doors or stand next to a literature cart. The preaching work is what identifies true worshipers, even though this highly systematized version of proselytizing is nowhere to be found in the New Testament.
Now there's 2 tests left. Number 5, John 13, verse 34 and 35. They show unselfish love for one another. Now, how important is that? Well, Jesus said, by this all would know that you are my disciples.
Jehovah's Witnesses claim to be the only religious group who has unselfish love for one another. And yeah, when you're in the religion, you definitely feel that you're part of a worldwide family. But this love is not unconditional. It ends as soon as you start questioning the leadership or stepping out of line, as this very convention will make clear. If brotherly love identifies pure worshipers, then any religious group can claim this title. Loving those who believe the same things you do is nothing special. Hell, it's even a bit tribalistic, something that's deeply ingrained in our caveman brains.
And then test number 6, John chapter 15 and verse 19. They remain no part of the world.
There you have it, boys and girls. 6 tests to identify pure worshipers today. Of course, it's easy to check off boxes of a list which you have created. If I make a list to identify the perfect man and all the points are just descriptions of me, then of course I'm gonna fit all of them. This box checking exercise is just a circular reasoning circle jerk, but Watchtower does it all of the time.
Yes, Jesus, he's actively promoting, he's protecting pure worship today. How's he do that? Well, being the head of the congregation, he certainly oversees the preaching activity. Also, he directs his followers to clear understanding of Jehovah's Word, Bible truth.
So you know all the brochures and magazines that the Watchtower has produced over the years, which are now full of outdated doctrine and failed predictions? Well, Jesus was behind all of that. Every time our overlord to New York concocts some new dogma, Jesus is sitting invisibly in that office, manipulating their neurons, firing their synapses, directing their every move, defending pure worship from all those fake Christians who swear Jehovah's Witnesses are heretics. But they're not heretics because JWs fill all the boxes in this list that they themselves created. Checkmate, Christians. Now that our appetite is whet for spiritual food, we get our first governing body member, Samuel Hurd, last remaining black guy of the group. Well, the only black guy in the group, like, ever. And I'm not gonna lie, this sofa doesn't look very comfortable. Like, it looks like he's grasping an electric chair or something.
On behalf of the governing body, I warmly welcome you to the Pure Worship Convention. Last year's Declare the Good News Convention was epic.
Okay, who forced Grandpa to say this line? It's definitely gonna go in the soundboard.
Epic.
Comrade Herd then gives us a preview of the next 2 episodes of the epic Jesus series, because the entire convention revolves around these 2 episodes. I already covered them last week, so don't forget to check that out before or after this video.
There's no greater privilege in the universe than to worship the only true God, Jehovah.
How do you know that, Herd? Have you explored the rest of the universe? Maybe there's cooler gods out there than Jehovah. Gods that don't require you to martyr yourself in case you need a blood transfusion, or that at least let you celebrate the day you were born. Just saying.
In fact, that's our purpose in life. May this convention move all of us to worship Jehovah acceptably and to stick to pure worship forever.
Forever is a long time, dude. I gave 20 years of my life to the cause and I was fed up by the end.
Oh, that was exciting. Let's add to that excitement even a little bit more. At this time, if you want to get your program out, and let's see what we're going to learn.
I kid you not, like 1/3 of the convention time is spent previewing and reviewing material. They hype you up for future symposiums or movies, then give you the most elementary brain-dead sermon possible, and then they review it again, just to make sure you got the point. Just know that the video you're watching right now is the result of scouring through hours and hours of unusable footage. So drop a like for me, please. It was a lot of work.
I feel dead inside.
I'm sure you would agree that we have seen unprecedented changes in the world in recent times. Political upheaval, financial uncertainty, social unrest, not to mention the violent conflicts that are happening in one part of the world after another. This seems to have become the new norm.
Brother, these things have always happened. Did you not pay attention in school? You know what this is, boys and girls? Another fear-mongering talk to convince us that we're living
in the final part of the last days, undoubtedly the final part of the final part of the last days, shortly before the last day of the last days.
The talk is titled, Who Really Rules the World? And the answer is Satan, the devil. According to Jehovah's Witnesses, Satan rules the world because Jehovah allows him to.
Jesus referred to Satan as the ruler of the world.
That's the short answer, but I did find some of his remarks quite interesting.
But here's a caution. Although some in government have committed horrible atrocities, the Bible does not say that Satan directly controls each leader or official. So we have to be careful when we think about this.
In other words, we're going to talk crap about worldly governments in general and pray for their imminent destruction, but we won't have the spine to call out specific leaders who are carrying out war crimes, Satanyahu, because calling them out would put our tax exception status at risk. That's what he means by this.
Well, today, Satan promotes worshipful allegiance to beast-like governments, pressuring people to take sides in politics and other controversies.
Bro, how is taking sides in politics equal to worshiping the government? That's a huge leap.
That's a stretch.
Well, in modern times, some governments have even supported God's people. For example, when facing opposition, some high courts, such as the U.S. Supreme Court or the European Court of Human Rights, have come to the rescue of God's people by ruling in their favor and allowing them a certain measure of freedom.
And here you have the paradox at the heart of Watchtower's view of politics. Apparently, all of the world's governments are controlled by Satan the devil and don't deserve our support. But within these governments, you will find individuals and even entire systems willing to protect the freedom of worship of Jehovah's Witnesses. So are these individuals under the control of Satan or not? Why would Satan use them to grant his enemies freedom of worship? Are these individuals being guided by the Holy Spirit? If that's the case, why would Jehovah intervene in the political scene if the whole point of handing over the world to Satan is to prove that Satan is a terrible ruler? Wouldn't Jehovah intervening in politics be helping Satan out?
So these human rulers are placed in their position by God, where he allows them to exist.
So Jehovah is the one that chooses these political leaders, not Satan. So are Jehovah and Satan buddies behind the scenes? Sure seems like it. It's like they're playing a game of chess, except they're in the same team, taking turns moving the pieces.
I don't know what to believe anymore.
Oh man, but the craziness doesn't end there. We're just getting started, because now we get to a series of talks titled Imitate Jesus' Response to the Tempter, in which we see a JW family facing temptation in their everyday life. Now, I previously covered one of these videos, the Apostate one, which you should totally check out after this, because it's really disturbing. But now we're gonna see the rest of the series.
How wicked Satan is. How crafty. He did not hold back from tempting even Jesus. And he does not hold back from tempting us today.
Yeah, especially with those immodestly dressed pillows and those aquariums, man. That Satan is very crafty, I tell you.
Sexy.
Satan tempts individuals to satisfy sexual desires whenever and with whomever they want, rather than wait for an honorable marriage.
Oh no! Not the sin of consensual sex.
Satan uses pornography to fuel sexual immorality.
Yeah, especially when you talk about it all of the time.
And sadly, we live in a world where pornography is readily available, and viewing it has become normalized in the minds of many people. Why is it so harmful? Even if pornography does not lead a person to commit sexual immorality, it inevitably does lead to immoral, debasing thoughts, and often it leads to the practice of self-abuse, which is unclean.
I can't believe they're still referring to masturbation as self-abuse. I just crack up every time I hear it. I don't know what kind of masturbating you're doing.
The temptation to view pornography can be much more difficult to resist when a person is weak, perhaps because of being lonely, tired, or under stress.
Or when you're consumed by religious guilt and sexual repression, which usually goes hand in hand with loneliness. Just speaking from personal experience, pornography stopped being a temptation for me the moment I stepped away from this toxic religion. It's like they can identify the problem, but they're unable to identify the root cause.
Now we're going to watch together a video dramatization, and as you watch, take note of how the brother imitates Jesus' example when facing temptation.
Okay, so now we can finally watch the movie. Grab your popcorn and put on your tinfoil hats. It's gonna get bad.
Thank you for taking on some of the congregation responsibilities. We're praying for that too. Okay. Hey, thanks, John. All right, bye. Hey, babe. It's about time for your meds.
My favorite one.
Hey, buddy. So what's your homework for today?
Math?
You need some help?
No, I think I'm okay.
Hi, everyone. We're back in town, and guess what? We got our house, and we had everything we wanted. His and her walk-in closet, heated swimming pool.
I'm excited. Chris and Nikki coming back in town.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
How long's it been?
About 15 years, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. These women are barely wearing anything. How did this stuff even get on my feed?
Brother, it's an algorithm. It shows you what you feed it. And the picture that they show is just some girls in a club. Brother, you're married. Have you never seen a scantily clad woman before?
Hey, Dad. Maybe I could use your help here.
Sure, yeah.
Dude was about to bust.
Why am I still getting these posts?
It's the algorithm.
Satan always tries to exploit our natural desires, like he did with Jesus.
If you are a son of God, tell these stones to become loaves of bread.
There are desires that we have that are natural, but satisfying those desires in a selfish way would not be right.
It is written, man must live not on bread alone, but on every word that comes from Jehovah's mouth.
If this app could lead me to damage my relationship with Jehovah, it's not for me.
Damn, this is such an overblown response. Like, what's the temptation exactly? Cheating on your wife? Or looking at inappropriate pictures? Cause random thirst traps are gonna come up everywhere. Like, you can't stop that, right? But you know what you can do? Just keep scrolling. Feed your algorithm with more wholesome stuff, like, I don't know, cat videos or shitpost memes. Maybe Justin feels a bit of sexual repression because his wife is not doing very good, you know, health-wise, which is totally understandable. But since self-pleasure is not allowed in this religion, of course Justin is gonna be triggered by some mildly suggestive photos. Like, he's acting like a teenager. It's crazy how in this religion you can be sexually repressed even when you're married.
Let me ask you what you think. Do you think it was extreme or unrealistic for the brother to actually delete from his phone an app that was presenting sexually provocative images?
Yeah, just a little bit overblown.
No, it was not. He was imitating Jesus by identifying a temptation and acting immediately to reject it. Our brother took decisive action to safeguard himself.
He did the equivalent of cutting a weed without pulling it from the roots. The problem is not the app itself, it's the religious guilt that fuels this temptation to look at the stuff. It really is that simple.
He knows that not only is pornography unclean, but any material that inflames wrong desires is unclean, even if it doesn't depict total nudity or sexual acts.
And how do we determine what material is provocative or not? Who knows? When you're a JW, you're constantly walking on eggshells, terrified of stumbling upon a picture or a movie scene that is even mildly suggestive, because that's gonna lead you straight into cheating on your spouse. It's such a miserable way to live, and I'm so happy I'm out of this paranoia.
Well, as he did with Jesus, Satan may tempt us to put our physical lives in danger by taking unnecessary risks or engaging in reckless behavior, in effect causing Jehovah or causing us to test whether Jehovah would protect us.
Oh, does this include carrying a no blood card in your wallet at all times? Hoping Jehovah will not let you die in case you need an emergency blood transfusion? That would sure seem like putting God to the test.
Now today, Satan may also tempt us to use social media or other means to draw undue attention to ourselves, tempting us to focus on our reputation more than obediently living in harmony with God's word, which repeatedly counsels us to be humble.
So, building a following on social media is looked down upon, but recording yourself in a multi-million-dollar studio while claiming to be God's spokesperson is totally okay. Oh boy, let's roll the second clip.
You like that story. I have so many more about your dad to tell you. I have so many more. I can tell you right.
That one tonight. But speaking of back in the day, look what I found.
Oh. Whoa, that was you and Chris.
Yeah.
What's that? Oh, Pioneer School.
Mm-hmm. That feels like 1,000,000 years ago.
Well, if it's any consolation, you look gorgeous.
Oh, girl, I don't know about that.
You do. You really do. This would actually be a perfect post for this group that I follow. You should join. It's for witnesses, and we share stories about our personal health journeys and spiritual thoughts. It is very inspiring. If people could hear your truth, you would be an encouragement to so many people.
I don't think anybody wants to hear from me.
I want to hear from you, Shayla.
Shayla, you really need to think more of yourself. When was the last time you really felt heard? Cancer has taken so much from you. Don't you want to feel better?
Hey girl, here's the selfie of us and a link to that social media page. I think your story can go witness viral.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to share my daily scriptural tip with you guys. Thank you so much for following all of my videos.
Hey everyone around the world, I want to thank you so much for all of your prayers and especially...
Hi everyone that may be watching. I just really wanted to share with you all my truth about this whole experience.
Notice how they keep using the phrase, my truth.
Your truth.
My truth.
This might go over your head, but to a Jehovah's Witness, my truth will raise up a few alarm bells. You see, Jehovah's Witnesses are used to calling their religion the truth. There is only one truth, that is, being one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
There's only one truth, and it comes from Jehovah.
Being part of the collective unit. So when someone says, my truth, that means they're thinking as an individual, which is a big no-no in this religion. You're not supposed to think for yourself. Independent thinking is frowned upon.
Updating friends and family is one thing, but this feels wrong.
If you are a son of God, throw yourself down.
Satan tried to get Jesus to draw undue attention to himself.
You must not put Jehovah your God to the test.
I still have no idea how we're supposed to relate this to the temptation story. Jesus was tempted to throw himself off the temple to prove he was the Son of God. But this lady is not trying to prove anything. These people on JW Instagram were just sharing their stories. I didn't see any of them showing off their wealth or anything. This is such a massive stretch, even for Watchtower.
That's a stretch.
No matter what I'm going through, I need to focus on what Jehovah promises and not bring unnecessary attention to myself.
God forbid a woman share her battle with cancer on social media. Jesus, the governing body doesn't want JWs becoming influencers because they want to be the only role models in the religion. Or at least they want to be the ones to choose the role models that they use in JW broadcasting. If you got all these JW influencers running around, they will eventually provide alternate ways to live out the JW life. And the governing body doesn't want that because they can't control what JW influencers say. They want full control of the JW brand. This is what it's all about. And you know what's the most frustrating part out of all of this? Is that the Watchtower is super happy to use cancer patients on their propaganda on JW broadcasting, but when this lady tries to share her story on her account, she is shamed for it. Sharing her story on social media would probably help this lady out, at least, to vent her frustrations. She could even provide encouragement to other women going through the same trials. But nope, doing so would be considered prideful, and Jehovah doesn't like that. Now, another reason why the governing body might want JWs to stay off social media is because they want their followers to not be exposed to apostate ideas. And if you promote yourself as a Jehovah's Witness online, it's just a matter of time before you get people leaving comments on your page telling you that you're in a cult. Alright, let's look at the third video.
So, Aiden, what you been up to lately?
Well, I'm about to graduate soon.
That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't wait. And, I'm thinking about applying to Bethel.
Okay, Bethel. All right, really?
Yeah, I've been wanting to do it since I was a kid.
Okay.
This lady is actually a pretty decent actress. The way she subtly scoffs at the idea of Bethel Pioneer School and Spiritual Thoughts.
Oh, Pioneer School. Spiritual Thoughts. Okay.
She's either a great actress or totally PMO.
Bethel's nice, but you got to think about your future.
Yeah.
How will you support yourself, or how would you support a wife after Bethel?
You can still serve Jehovah right here.
That's true. I know. I get it. When I was your age, they told me the end could come tomorrow too.
Yeah.
But look at us. We have a real comfortable life.
And we're still witnesses, Aiden.
These are totally valid points. 1. There's no guarantee that Armageddon will come in your lifetime. 2. You need to think about your financial security. 3. You can still be a Jehovah's Witness even if you choose a comfortable life. Let's see how Aiden and his parents respond to this logic.
And we're still witnesses, Aiden. You're so young and smart. There's so many opportunities open to you right now. It's nice that you have spiritual goals, truly. But you also need to be realistic.
He's being realistic. Yeah, and there's a lot of ways you can serve Jehovah at Bethel.
Dude, we know. There's a gazillion ways to serve Big J. They're talking about your financial security. You know, how you're gonna earn money to feed yourself and your family? Bruh.
Like what? Washing windows?
But if it means putting Jehovah first, is there anything wrong with that?
Of course, nothing's wrong with that. It's just that he could have so much more.
Anyway, lunch was amazing. Thank you so much, Shayla. I can't believe you did all of this for us.
What an awkward conversation, but I'm sure it happens all of the time, as an aging generation of witnesses has to grapple with the consequences of their earlier financial decisions. Now, it's easy for Justin and Shayla to act all righteous and say that Jehovah will provide. They seem to be living in a nice house, and the film never implies that they're undergoing financial troubles, even through Shayla's cancer treatment. Chris and Nikki also seem to have been financially successful, but they know that getting to that level requires very hard work and wise decisions, and that spending several years at Bethel performing free labor will probably set you back in terms of your career. So let's see how Aiden responds.
What especially motivates so many to serve at Bethel?
Unlimited pillows.
Love for Jehovah moves us to put kingdom interests ahead of...
Hey, you okay? Yeah. Hey, don't let Chris and Nikki get in your head. Their focus seems to be off.
Their focus seems spot on to me.
Did you want to talk about it?
No, I think I'm good. Satan has always done this. He tried to tempt Jesus with what the world could offer. But Jesus didn't focus on himself. He focused on Jehovah and doing his will. That's what I'm gonna do.
What? Are you also gonna get crucified for the sins of the world? I don't remember Jesus saying that doing God's will involves performing free labor in upstate New York. It's crazy how Chris and Nikki are being portrayed as the voice of Satan in the series when all they've given so far is reasonable advice. Seriously, Nikki encouraged Shayla to share her battle with cancer on social media, and Chris encouraged Aiden to think about his future. That's it. Watchtower is treating these characters as if they were offering their family some fentanyl. Like, it's ridiculous.
But what else does Satan use? He uses his wicked agents, opposers and apostates, to spread seeds of doubt, to spread misinformation.
Ooh, we got a new nickname, guys. The Wicked Agents of Satan. Sounds kinda metal to me.
Suppose someone that you know or that you are close to, they begin to grasp and cling to the misinformation or the bad teachings of apostates, and then they want to share it with you. What would you do?
And this is where they play the apostate videos, which we covered previously. But this time we actually get to see what happens after Justin flees the scene like a coward. He looks into a sunset and has flashbacks of the Jesus movie.
Jesus' example helped them to stand firm and resist the negative influences of the family who were overreached by Satan and apostate thinking.
And that's the whole point of this video series, to pitch families against each other. If you perceive a family member to be infected with apostate thinking, you are to kick them out of your life. That is what pure worship means, guys. Being so religiously indoctrinated that you are unable to listen to outside opinions.
As clearly outlined here, we must always be ready to make a defense of the truth.
Wait, what? Justin wasn't willing to make a defense of the truth. He drove away like a coward. So much for courageously defending the truth.
We must always be ready to make a defense of the truth.
Epic.
Now, although we do not directly engage apostates in communication, when might it be appropriate for us to counteract or to make a defense as it relates to the truth and apostate teachings? Or suppose we have a relative or someone who's interested in the Bible and they begin to sincerely ask questions that, unknowns to them, originates with apostates.
What would even be an example of a question that originates with apostates? Who knows? They never give a single example.
Don't ask questions.
This series of videos is one of the worst ones I've seen. Imagine you're a newcomer to the religion and you come to this convention and these are the first videos you get to see. Videos discouraging cancer patients from sharing their stories online, and videos telling JWs to stick their head in the sand when presented with outside information. Wow, if I was a newcomer, I would be really put off by these videos. It's almost like they want outsiders to know that they're a doomsday cult.
Excuse me, are y'all with the cult?
We're not a cult.
We do not directly engage apostates in communication.
Yeah, this is it.
The next series of videos is titled Lessons from the Land of Jesus, in which this Scottish dude travels around Israel and occupied Palestine to show us some neat artifacts. It has some interesting trivia, but nothing too exciting. It's just kind of funny seeing this bloke in the Holy Land pronouncing the name of God as Jehovah.
The Tetragrammaton, Jehovah's name, written in ancient Hebrew. It seems it was part of the phrase, the house of Jehovah.
He should do that in a synagogue and see what happens. The final talk of the day is quite strange, and it's titled, What Does Jesus See in You? And tells the experience of this guy from Mexico and this lady from New York who overcame feelings of low self-esteem thanks to the congregation. But of course, whenever they talk about Jesus a little more than usual, it's usually to encourage you to be used by the organization.
So let Jesus use you in whatever way he chooses. When you do, you will experience the deep joy and satisfaction of reaching the potential that Jesus sees in you.
Listen, obey, and be blessed. Well guys, let me know what you thought of this Friday program in the comments below, and let me know the moment you lost a cringe challenge, because I love reading your comments. If you would like to support my work, please head on over to Patreon or become a channel member. It's only $1 a month, and you gain early access to all my videos. And don't forget to smash the subscribe button for episode 2 and 3 of the convention rebuttals. Thank you so much. Take it easy guys, have a wonderful day, and stay away from the tower.
Bah. Goodbye, little sheep.